welcome back.
Sorry, we left you guys hanging last week.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Y'all, it was life hit hard.
Yeah, well, that's like a good thing I feel like we demonstrated, because like when life happens, you just gotta regroup.
Yeah.
We had to release that like pressure
a
little bit, because I know we felt guilty. We were like,
we definitely did. We were both like reassuring each other, like,
it's okay,
it'll be okay,
it'll be fine. We'll be back.
But no, like, I think it was my aunt, like, she brought to my attention, she's like, you guys always talk about, right, like, needing a break and taking a step back and just like pausing on life, right? So it was nice to be able to see that, like, we're and doing it for ourselves,
hold space for ourselves and show ourselves grace, and like, not put so much like pressure on ourselves. I loved it.
Yeah, y'all, it's been a while, I feel like. I know, right? It really what's been going on the last 2 weeks?
I was gonna say the last episodes we batch recorded. We're not used to doing that either. Yeah. And we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely March was busy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the last 2 weeks was just like birthdays. Well, at least for me, I could say it was just like we had Adriel's second birthday, so that was like fun. I had a lot of family in from Florida. My brother, his 1 year anniversary, so that was nice. And then my kids got sick, and then Bri went away for work at the same time. So things were just so crazy, and I was just like, oh my God. But we got through it. We're all together again. Things are great. Kids are healthy. And it was nice, to just be able to take that break, right? And just like, even though like I was like, we were both like, oh my God. But it was nice to be able to take a step back.
All the way down into like the minute we were meeting up.
Yeah. Like we were going to do it, but it was like how it was going to happen. We don't know. Right. We were just going to figure it out, wing it. And then,
I don't even know if it would have been out of the studio. It wasn't. We were going to go to your house and figure that out.
But we're here. We're back. And Mariah, what was your 2 weeks like?
My 2 weeks were like, I was there for all Adriel's birthday, JoJo's memorial. And then last week was Soph's baby shower.
Oh, yes, we had baby shower action.
Yeah, so pretty much just like life events going on, really. Just celebrating, being around everybody. I think that was really it. Yeah. That was for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. It's been nice.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? We're not starting this right now. Anyway. But we missed you guys. Exactly. We missed you guys. We're back. Today we're just gonna bring you guys to just like talk about, like, I think that in life, right? Like, we are thrown so many things, and in the world of adulting, right? Like, you have to like make decisions and put your big girl pants on, and not, relying on our parents anymore, right? To be like helping us make those decisions, or even like taking risks, right? That we don't know what is at the end of that risk, right? Like, we don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing or just a shit show. Like, we're just really going with the flow and making these, decisions as we grow. And I think that it could be difficult, right? Like to be like hit on with like, something that it's like, okay, well, like, you either can do this or you can do this, right? And it's like, what's the right option? Like, what do I do? Yeah. And I think that's hard of like now having to do that. And I like wish I can go back to like when my mom made my appointments and made these decisions for me and all, like,
I just feel like the most fascinating part about it is like, we don't realize how like the little decisions we make in life, how like it could change our timeline, and just like change our whole like projection of like where our life is going, where we like pictured it to go, and how like these decisions could really, like, when you think about it, sometimes, I mean, not that to live with regret or anything, but sometimes you're like, wow, if I made this decision differently, how, like, what would my life look like now, right? So I always think about those things. I'm like, everything happens for a reason. You make the decisions you do for a reason.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. But I'm always just like, it could have taken one decision back in like whenever that would have could change our lives
and
forever.
It's just like too, like in the moment, right? Like I feel like you're kind of like oh my God, what's that thing called? The balance? The seesaw? Or a scale?
Oh, yeah,
You're kind of like, do I up or down? Like, what do I do? I don't know. Like back and forth. Like, and it's like, it's like you kind of wish, like, right? Like for a second you can get like a 2-minute clip of like what the future, like what it's going to do. Like what, if I make this decision, what's going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
But obviously life doesn't work that way. You're kind of just like making these decisions on whim. But,
I think to add to that is like, when you do make these decisions, though, I always like, this is another conversation we wanted to have, but I feel very sad for people who like are either not in touch with their intuition or don't like don't identify with having an intuition, because I feel like you could only make decisions based on like what feels right.
Absolutely.
And what, like it's so hard to, because you could overthink anything.
Yeah.
And you could turn anything into like a mountain out of a molehill, and but it's like if something feels like it's calling, like it's calling for a reason, I feel like that's how I make all my decisions, and maybe they're wrong sometimes, but
no, but I love that. I definitely I agree with that too, because I'm a very like intuitive person. I feel like I literally, my stomach will tell it all. Like it's either I'm gonna poop my pants, I'm gonna throw up, or like I'm just like in shambles, like. And I think that like that, I love that about myself, is just like being able to feel those feelings, right? Like, and I'm grateful for that, because I feel like, like if it wasn't for feeling the feelings, like it would make things even harder. Yeah. And I wonder, like, people who don't have, like you said, like who don't have that intuitive feeling, like what do you do? Like, how do you go based off of like, what?
Yeah. I feel like we're so conditioned to like do what we think people or like society will think is right sometimes based on our decisions. Like, I'm just gonna use an example as going to school. For me personally, like the entire time I was going to school, I knew it was like, I felt it in me that I should not be going to school, at least not for what I was going for personally. And maybe like I should have taken that time to get like more in tune with myself, or more in tune with like what I really wanted to do, and I didn't. I just like did what was the right thing to do. But the whole time, like I felt it in me, like this isn't for me. And I still did it because it was like, well, society said. But then sometimes I'm like, okay, well, what if I didn't go to college? And like, college didn't help me get my job that I'm in now. Like, and I don't know that it would help me get a job in the future. Maybe it would, but I don't know. Like, I always think about those, and I'm like, not that I regret it though, because I learned so much in the experience. But yeah, I think sometimes we're so conditioned to do what like we think other people will accept us for, or like especially with our parents. I feel like that's like a huge influence, and that was like one of my dad's biggest thing. Like, he wanted me to be the first person in our family to graduate school. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like people are very conditioned to do that.
I know,
especially when it comes to like,
but it's just like no.
I know. And then we get to like a space like when you're for your kids. Like, I wonder how how do you do that for them? Like, how do you know what the right decision is to make for them?
Yeah, I know that. Well, so the thing with me is, I'm like, when it comes to like, even like medical experiences with them, like educational experiences with them, like, I don't care. I'm like, I will be the crazy mom in the room, or talking to the teacher, or talking to the doctor, and ask a bajillion questions, because like, I don't care. Like, I need to know everything, all the information that you can possibly give me, like, give it to me. Like, I want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I'm like, Adriel's teachers probably think I'm crazy, because I'm always asking them, like, are you sure he's good in school? Like, are you sure there's nothing wrong with my kid? Like, and he's not batshit crazy like he is at home? And they're like, no, he's great. Like, he's so good. And I don't believe them. And I'm like, I don't believe you guys. Like, are you sure? But like, like, I think that it's hard, like, and there's even times where, like, I there's decisions that I'm like, I consult with Brian and I'm like, oh my God, like, do you think? And we both are like, I don't know, like, you know, like, what do we do? And it's just like, you know, getting input, like that's another thing too. Like, if it's something that I'm experiencing, I'm going to go to other people and be like, and not to be spreading my business, but like, you know, my people, and I'm be like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Right? Like, what's your input on this? And then not kind of like, base my decision off of what other people think, but getting that other outside input, because I think that sometimes you're put in a place to make a decision, and you have those times, right, where you need to make a decision instantly, or you have the time where you have that time to think. And I think that the times where you do have that time to think, you need to take advantage of that and be able to network and venture out with other people and hear their input, because you never know. Just a simple conversation with someone else may open up a whole new door for you to really understand, like, wow, I never looked at it that way. Or be able to compare, right? Like, well, this person says this and another person saying this. So, maybe there may be a medium in between those two people, right? So I think that I that's something that works for me. Like, if it isn't a decision that needs to be made instantly, I think that I definitely do enjoy getting other input from other people, and just like, or people who've experienced it, who haven't experienced it, just what they think about it. And then I kind of just go from there, you know, like what the best thing is, what the worst thing is, what this one said, and then at the end of the day, what I feel, right? Like, and what I feel like is the right decision. And I know that, like, that's not a way for everyone, because I know, like, Brian, like, he's more of like, okay, well, I'm going to look at, like, the stats, like, the statistics and what this means and what this means, like, versus what other people have to say about it. He's more of like, okay, well, I'm going to do the research kind of thing. And I think that's cool too. But for me, I just, you know, I like to just hear real life people experiences, you know?
Yeah. I feel like I'm somewhere in between, because I'm like that too. I like to do a lot of research on my own, but I also like to hear from other people. Just with anything. I mean, and people have so many reasons. Like, even when it comes to, like, for example, a job or something, you could feel so stuck almost in, like, what you're doing, and then want to go look for something else. And then, but people, the first thing they talk about is, like, benefits and retirement and all of those things. And then I guess a few years ago, like, those things, not that it didn't matter to me at the time, but it wasn't, like, that wasn't at the top of my list. I think right now too, we're also in a phase where it's like millennials are doing things to make them feel good before thinking about, like, the long-term things, which could be, there's, like, a bad and a good side to that, I think. But I think it's important to see, like, the shift that I think we're making, because it's like we're making decisions that are not just based on the facts, right? They're not just based on, okay, well, if you work this many years or whatever, like, you're guaranteed to retire with this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. But we're making decisions more based on, like, what we feel called to do and like our intuition and stuff. So yeah, I think that's where I am.
I even, like, that made me, I don't know why, like, what you just said, like, it made me think about, like, you know, all of the, like, how you said, like, you know, millennials are trying to, like, make that shift, and kind of, like, how, like, all of the people who are kind of, like, in stocks and, like, things like that in those, like, trading programs and stuff, they're, like, retiring at, like, 20 and 21 and 22. 100%. But it just makes me think about, like, you know, those people, and it's just like, really? Are you retiring? You're never going to work again?
Yeah. But then, you know what, too? I feel like sometimes our mind, it limits us, right? Like, it's like, sometimes it does limit us because, and I always say this is, like, one of the battles I have within myself, is that there are so many people in the world that are making paving their own path, right? Right now, especially, I feel like I see it even more and more, and not just through, like, social media, like, people who I've actually really spoken to, networked with, like, they have their own businesses, they're running successful businesses in whatever they're doing, and it's not the traditional way, and there's, like, whole communities of people who are doing this, and
they're taking those risks, right?
Right, like, and they're doing something that feels good to them. It's not, you know, a 9-to-5 desk job, security, you know, all that stuff. It's the opposite of, like, whatever. You're not guaranteed anything, but they're doing it. They're making successful pathways. And I think right now I'm stuck in that, like, is still needing like a security blanket sometimes, because I'm like, okay, so sometimes I can't picture being out of the 9 to 5, but I feel like the most frustrated in working a 9 to 5 desk job. Absolutely. Like I feel the most unfulfilled working a 9 to 5 desk job. And I don't know if maybe it's just because of the field that I'm in right now. But I feel like I can't, and I always picture this too. Like even when I went to be a teacher, I didn't want to be a teacher because I didn't want to be in a classroom for 8 hours. And
your eyes are mad green today. Sorry, I had to say that. I'm like looking at her and I'm like, holy crap, her eyes are so green today.
Are they?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. Sorry.
Thanks. Oh my God, you got me shy. But yeah, I think right now I'm stuck in that, like, making the decision to like pursue something that I'm really called to do, or, like just stuck in the security and seeing other people do these things. It's like, that there's real life.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Motivating. Like, motivating, but that it exists, that it can happen, that, it's like, this is real, but then you just think about it and you're like, but this is what worked for so many years for people. People worked and they did their 9 to 5 and then they retired, so it's like, I don't know.
It's hard to break out of that box, right?
Now I feel like you're looking into my soul.
No, I definitely feel like it's hard to, break out of that box and be able to bust out of it, right? And be like, hey, like, like I'm done with this, like, and I want to venture into something else and see, where it gets me. And I think that's hard. Like, that takes courage to be able to do that and just, say F it. And shout out to the people who do, right? Like who said F the 9 to 5 and are doing the damn thing, like with their own business, or if you were successful or are successful in doing, stocks and trading and things like that, like great, like opening up your own businesses and just, going out and doing it, like good for you, because it's definitely not easy. It's
100%.
not easy.
And not that like I expect anything to be easy. It's just, like I said, this is like a comfort zone. I think that we're in right now. Yeah. That it's like, okay, and just breaking out of that and like working through that so that it's like, this isn't a comfort zone, because obviously I'm not comfortable. I'm very uncomfortable, Yeah, and I think that's like, there's a lot to say in just that. But I feel like it's definitely within our age group that's where we are. We're there,
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. So what decisions do you feel like are important ones that would be like coming up in our future that would be, something to really like think about?
I think there could be a lot. I feel like, especially because in the places like we both are in right now, like the decision to get married, right? The decision to have a big wedding or a small wedding, the decision to where do you want to buy a house? Where do you want to live? Where do you, where do I want my kids to grow up? Yeah. Do I want to stay in New Jersey? Do I want to leave? Like, like I feel like there's so many, and like that's where kind of like the fear comes in, right? Like, because there's so many decisions like to be made, and it's just like, why do I have to do all this? But in a good way.
No, I get it.
I think that it doesn't always have to be negative. I think it's just like the pressure of like all of these things coming up and all of these decisions. And some can be easy, right? Some can be like, okay, yeah, like I'm instantly. And then like some can be hard, right? Like, cause for example, like a decision of, not staying in New Jersey and like wanting to raise my family in another state. Like, yeah, it sounds so easy because like I don't want my kids to grow up here, but at the same time that's hard, right? Because you're leaving family behind, you're leaving what behind, and you're picking up your family, moving to a whole nother state to rebuild your life, kind of.
And I that to say that with that specifically, it's like, and this is like where Nudie always combats me and like he's like devil's advocate, but he was like, how do you know that somewhere else, like, wherever we pick is going to be better than the childhood we had? I mean, and our kids will never have a childhood like that because it's just different. I mean, they'll have as much of it as we can give it to them. But like, he's always like, how do we know that Florida will be, he's like, look at us. We grew up normal. He was like, you always see somebody in Florida, like that grew up, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, how do you know that, those won't be our kids in the future? Like, doing these crazy drugs and like attacking people. He's like, how do you know? He's like, but you know, being in, because like, we grew up, we're kind of like normal for the most part, not that normal is like whatever, but he's like, you know, we're a little cultured. Like he was like, and how do we know that moving somewhere else will like take that experience or that knowledge like away from our kids? And I'm like, no, I get that.
It's
too.
True though. Yeah, it's true. But that's a risk, right?
Yeah,
that you either are willing to take or you're not. You know, and I think it has to be for you. You have to know that, you know, this is for us. This is what we want to do.
Yeah.
Because you definitely want to make sure that you are on the same page with your partner, right? Because you know, if they, you know, you have a whole vision of like, oh, this is how I want to, you know, live my life. But then your partner's like, well, I don't think so. And it's like, okay, well, we need to meet somewhere in the middle, right? Like where, like, cause you know, Brian, like if it was up to him, we'd be in a campo somewhere in Puerto Rico. Like, and I'm like, well, I ain't built for that lifestyle. Like I'm a whole city girl. But then, you know, when we did, like we ventured off to Florida, and like he was able to see like, okay, like this is like, you know, half Puerto Rico, half Jersey. Like I could deal with this. Right. So it was kind of like we met each other in the middle and was just like, okay, like this could be, you know, for us. And this is what we want. You know, we want our kids to have like land and like be barefoot in the grass running wild.
No, that's definitely where he and I think we have the most difference in outlook on. Mm-hmm. And the way he explains it to me is, you know, my parents have always talked about moving to Florida. I think literally since I came out of the womb, they were like, we're going to move to Florida. Mm-hmm. And I remember them asking me when I was in first grade, like, do you want to move to Florida? And I was like, no. And then they never did. But they like still to this day, now I'm going to be 28 this year. Holy crap. But like more than 20 years later, they're still like, yeah, we're going to move to Florida. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see you when you do. But so Nudie thinks it's just that I have the comfort level of like the idea that I could have left. Yeah. And he doesn't have that. So he's always like more reserved about moving. But I think that's true too. He comes more into like recently he's been coming more into the space of like he's starting to get tired of the cold here. And I'm like, it's not this cold somewhere else. You know, like there's other places that there's like benefits of like just better. For me, it's more about like better quality of life year round. Right. Like, cause our winters are a little brutal here. Yeah. So yeah. But I think that's like, we have, I think the most differences when it comes to like, let's moving. And I'm just very optimistic. Like, I'm like, okay, let's just go pick up and go. Like, I think we could pick up and go tomorrow. Yeah. You know, I just feel like there's nothing tying me here other than family. And I know my family would follow me if I left. Yeah. And that's the thing for him. Like his family wouldn't, but I'm always like, let's move close to a city where it's easy to get to by plane. Yeah. And that will just be something that we have to consider in our future is like budgeting to be able to bring at least his mom wherever we are. Yeah. Throughout the year. And like that's just something I feel like is a smart thing to think about. You know?
Absolutely. That's rough.
Yeah.
I know my family will be right behind me too.
Yeah.
Can't get rid of them. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's I'm just getting tired of the cold up here.
It's just the cold, everything. I just want to
And I wish California wasn't so expensive, because if it wasn't so expensive, we'd immediately go there. Yeah. Because it's just so beautiful. Yeah. Like the whole thing is just beautiful. So I think that would be, and that's where we like pictured, we were like, okay, if it's not New Jersey, it's California. And then it's just like, do we want to like work our whole lives just to like afford California prices? Yeah. I think I could spend my time like not killing myself to live somewhere, for, you know? Yeah. So just thinking about that too. I think now that we get older, we're more conscious of that. Right. Where it's like, we're used to the hustle and bustle of the city, but it's like, do we have to do that our whole lives to be able to like, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. It's hard.
Yeah.
What do you think about, like, let's say, how can I word this? What do you think about, like, if, this is probably, like, a lot, but, like, okay, you know,
let's do it.
Like, what, like, how would you feel, like, about, like, let's say, like, you and a nudie were married, like, who would you want your, like, him to be making, like, let's say, like, medical decisions for you, or like would you want your parents to be doing it? Like, who would you choose?
So it was funny because I actually just filled out my doctor like forms, before you go to the doctors.
Yeah,
For some reason they always make you fill out the forms every time you go. It's weird. And I still put my mom. Yeah. I just think, like, I don't know. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on your spouse regardless. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on anybody, your parents included. But I don't know. And I don't know if it was like something in the future. I might have to put it on somebody who's more like logical. Like, I might actually name like Leah as my power of attorney when I'm older. Only because I feel like she would use less. This might sound bad, but like not less emotion because she loves me less, but I think less emotion in the fact like she just like, like in a time if like something, God forbid, anything like terrible happened, like I feel like she would be like, no, like we have to think about this logically. And I feel like she would be the only person that would be able to ground like a nudie if he's emotional, or like my mom if she's emotional, like like she might be the only one that might be able to be like.
You don't think your dad?
No.
Okay.
I think he would be like. I think he would be, even though he's like seems calm. Yeah. Like I think he's, as much as he doesn't like to come off so, I think he's very impulsive like I am. Okay. And like the first thing that he feels is right, he'll do. Me. Yeah. But also like I just think that's or the first thing that he thinks is right, not feels is right. So if he thinks that this is the right thing to do, he's gonna do it. Other than like weighing, the options. Okay. So I think that's what. So right now I put my mom, but I do think if I ever had to like pick somebody, it would probably be Leah or my Aunt Irene, because I feel like I don't know, she might be a hot mess if anything happened to me too, but I think anybody would be, but I just think that they would step back and be like, this is the smartest thing to do. Yeah. I would hope so. Yeah. Why? What about you? What would you put?
I don't know. Well, like I do, prior to me and Bri being engaged, I used to put my mom. And I think that like once we got engaged, I don't know why that made a difference, but like I started to put in. But then the other day, like this actually came to my mind, and I was just like, I don't know, like like I felt the same way. Like I don't think he would be able to make like those big decisions, and I feel like he would be the type of person that like feels like, okay, like he needs to control the situation and not relay the message to like my family, and I think it would just cause like a feud. So I think I think if it came to like medical like decisions like that, like I would put like my aunt.
I was thinking I was about to. I feel like she would just be the one to be like, no, this is like the most practical way to deal with something.
Even though like if I was to put my mom would always like consult with her, like because I feel like that's just what we all do, like when it comes to each other. But I think it would be hard for my mom to like make decisions. Yeah. But like that's like what came. This is the question that came into my head at like 2 a.m. the other day because I can't sleep, and this is what it is. But I was just thinking, I'm like, damn, like, like, and I had like a whole scenario played out in my head, and I'm like, who would be able to do this?
I know. You know what's crazy is that this is part of the work that I'm around every single day because the attorney I work for does estate planning. Mm-hmm. So watching people make these decisions, sometimes it's like, I'm like, oh, like sometimes it's like overwhelming because even they're like, I need a few months to think about this. Yeah. Like they'll come to us and won't finish their documents for like 8 months because they're like, I really don't know who I would put. And I'm like,
that's hard.
I get that. Yeah. So
that's really hard.
Yeah. I think it's a big decision to make too, because like the way hospitals are now, like they're just getting more and more strict with who they're releasing information to. Yeah. And it's like, that could also hurt people too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's just a big decision to make. But I for the most part, right now I put my mom still as my emergency contact. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if it had to be something like serious, I'd probably put Leah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's like a big deal, like, right? Like a big like decision to make, like when it comes to like family and stuff, and like who's choosing, who's the power of attorney.
My mom will probably be offended for me saying this, but yeah, I think it couldn't be her. Yeah, she would be too like distraught, Yeah. So if anything happened for me, God, let's change it. God. Sorry, no, I'm just kidding. No, but these are the conversations you have to have, and even like, I wonder who a nudie would put. I don't know. I don't know if he could put me either.
No.
No.
Don't put me.
But I don't know if he could put, like, either way, I feel like he probably has to put, like, his older brother, I think.
Yeah.
Because his older brother is, like, the most...
I don't know who Brian would put, because we're all emotional. Me, his mom, and his sister.
Yeah.
We'll all be wrecked.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to ask him.
That's a good question to ask. Now I want to ask Nudie, like, who would you put? Like, to make your, if you were, like, on your deathbed or something.
Yeah. Interesting.
Don't put me. I'm telling you, don't
Take
put
me
me
off that shit now, though.
I'm gonna be sitting there crying. You don't want me. No.
Yeah, I can't.
No. And you know what's crazy? I have to ask my mom about this because my dad was on his deathbed.
What?
With his tumor. Yeah, I'm a 50-50 baby. So basically, my dad had a brain tumor in 1992. Mm-hmm. And they basically said he had a 50-50 chance of living. Mm-hmm. And that if he... Like, no doctors would operate on him because how it was situated in his brain, like, all these things. Like, crazy, right? So he was, like, on his deathbed. And I don't know who, like, made the medical decisions for him. But there was a point where, like, he couldn't make the decisions for himself. And there was a chance that he would not wake up from the surgery.
OMG.
Mm-hmm. And he proposed to my mom while he was on his deathbed.
For real?
I don't know if my mom was the one who made the decisions or it was, like... They just left it up to the doctors. But, yeah like, he finally met one doctor that was like, I'll operate. So he had they gave him 50-50 chance. He basically yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then that was in 1992. He recovered. And then I was born in 1994. So I had a 50-50 chance of being here, y'all. 50-50 chance.
I love it.
Yeah. So I think that's why I'm like, oh, my parents are so cute.
They are.
Through death.
Gems. My parents are gems.
Death do them part. And, he didn't die, so that's good. But yeah, no, that's why his scar is from on his head. That's why he's bald.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fun. Good stories.
Yeah. Thought I'd share. But I wonder who made his medical decisions. I think my mom said they left it to the doctors, if I'm remembering right. Because they, none of them could. But
at that point, yeah, it was like, what do you do? What do you do,
And, my grandmother only speaks Spanish. She didn't really know what was going on too much. Because they said, they were like, no doctor would operate on him.
Wow.
That crazy?
That is.
Very
crazy.
I know. I'm always thinking about other decisions. I always, take 17 years to figure out a decision. You know me. I'm so indecisive.
I know.
I feel like...
I think I'm more boom, make a decision fast.
No, I think you are.
Am. I think I overfeel, I feel like I think I overthink it and do a lot, but I actually just be on it.
Yeah. I feel like you're just taking time in your head to make a plan.
Yeah.
Where it's me, I'm like, I'm not going to make the decision. I'm going to leave it up to God and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just comes with, I think it just comes with me being me, just being very indecisive and not knowing what the right decision. I mean, nobody knows what the right decision is going to be, but
yeah, listen,
I always see both sides to everything, so I'm very I don't know, this is a good option, this is a good option, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh,
is that? You have anything else to add?
Mm-mm.
What decisions are you guys making?
Yeah. What are those hard decisions? Okay, I'm not gonna do it.
Even with you're getting silly. Even with getting married and all that stuff, I just don't have I don't have a preference to get married or not.
Yeah, I feel like those decisions are just you feel it or you don't feel it.
Yeah,
what's the story? You do it or you don't do it.
Right.
Those are not hard ones to me. Maybe for some people it is though, right?
Yeah,
you never know.
I think this comes to because I was just watching the show that me and Toph were talking about, Ultimatum on Netflix, because you guys know I love reality TV, but and they've only been these people have only been together for a few years, and then they have to decide whether or not to get married or to leave the person they're with. First of all, I don't even know if I would know who a nudie is within 2 years for me to be oh, I can't keep pursuing this with him to keep figuring it out, right? So I don't know. So just thinking about that too, are you just like selling yourself short and not like getting the full experience because you're so in a rush to make a decision about something, or like, yeah,
it's hard. Actually,
or should you have made this decision like 5 years ago and decided, you know, to do.
That made me think about, there's this young girl that I watch on TikTok. She's only 19, and I think her and her boyfriend were together since they were 15, and they just had like this whole big like grand old wedding. Like they were saving themselves to marriage. But I'm like, damn, like only 4 years, like, you know, and then a 19, like, not that, like, I don't know, like, but I was just like, wow, like, there's really people who do this, like, right? Like, and it's just like that, like, boom, like, they get married. And
there are people who know each other for a month and elope.
They get married,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess if you know, right? Like,
yeah.
I guess.
I know. I think sometimes as humans, because that's what we are. But I feel like we get so caught up in like the thought of everything and forget to like trust our, like we said before, like our intuition, like feel it in our soul. Like we forget to do all of those things before we like to think about everything. I'm really trying to step out of that. Recently, I feel like I've been more like not even giving things thought. I'm just gonna go with exactly what I feel like.
Love that.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe I should take I should take that advice. I should do that. All right. Well.
I know, because sometimes it's just draining to overthink everything. Like,
yeah.
It's draining, and it's like, for what? Like, we're overthinking something that hasn't even happened yet, and we don't even know how we would deal with it if it did.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
like,
so
we're wasting so much life just thinking things through, when it's like, okay, we could be putting things into action and then dealing with what happens next when it comes.
Yeah. Because
who says it won't be good, it won't be bad. Right?
I love that.
All right.
Great way to end this episode, Mariah.
Thanks.
I love that.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys, for tuning in with us.
We're happy to be back.
Yeah, we're happy. But you already know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share, download, review, all that good shit.
Yes, and you came back strong.
All right, y'all.
Guys.
Bye.
We'll motherfucker. We'll see you guys. Don't do it without me. We didn't even look at each other. We normally look at each other.
I'm sorry.
Ready?
I got into it. Bye.